Today we're here with a couple of RAs, and we're going to ask them some questions that we frequently get asked here in residential life, and let them talk to you about their experiences.
Hi, so I'm Aicha Haidara. I'm a senior here at BC in the School of Arts and Sciences, majoring psychology. Is that it? Yeah.
And I'm Tyler Thurlow. I'm also a senior. I'm in the School of Nursing.
Good. So why don't you each start? Why don't you tell us why you became RAs?
Well, I initially wanted to become an RA because of my experience as a freshman with my freshman year RA. I remember how inviting he was and how he made me feel really comfortable on the floor, and he really introduced me to BC, and I wanted to be that type of rock and that type of person for the people who were going to be on my floor. And I really hoped that I could make that type of impact on people.
So I became an RA. At first, I wasn't quite sure what my junior year plans were going to be. But then I was actually very close to my sophomore year RA, and she was incredible, and we talked a lot about the role before I even considered applying, and she recommended me. A lot of other people had told me that they thought that it would be something that I could potentially be good at. I love people, and it worked out in my favor, and it's been incredible. So yeah.
So what is one or two rewarding experiences that you remember from your time as an RA?
I don't know if I can think specific, but I think the one thing that I find extremely rewarding is the connection that I make with at least a handful of my residents. This year I have about 48 residents, all 8-mans, which is kind of hard to crack into, especially sometimes they're a little sheltered and closed off. But I've made some really great connections, and people really open up to you if you're there for you, and actually use you as a resource, and come to you when they need things. And it actually feels good to be that, you're supposed to be that person and they're actually utilizing you, and having that really great connection, and hopefully having that last post the RA resident situation.
Yeah, the most rewarding experience is the moment where you kind of lose the fact that you're an RA, and you kind of realize that you're just two human beings trying to talk it out and trying to figure out how you can best help someone, and you really kind of just lose the fact that you're an RA and you're an experienced person on campus, and you want to be there to help them, and having that type of impact in someone is pretty powerful, and being able to help someone through those difficult moments, just as a nurse would in my case, is very rewarding.
That's awesome. So we all know it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes this job can be a little bit hard or challenging. What is a major challenge that when you first became an RA that you faced?
I would say I wasn't quite prepared for how overwhelming it would be, on top of all of the new commitments and priorities that I was taking on my junior year. So balancing that, the RA life, which is a lot, on top of all the other things that you still have to do. You still have to be a student, a social person, the clubs you're a part of. So balancing that out was quite difficult for me at first. I had a lot of conflicts in terms of scheduling, with duty and staff meetings, but ultimately it worked out, and but that was very overwhelming coming in junior year, starting to try to figure out your life, what you want to do with it, and having this new not burden, but just weight on you. So yeah, that was pretty challenging.
Yeah, definitely realizing that before you were as a resident you could go to someone, and then now realizing that you are that person that everyone goes to. And I think the most challenging thing is recognizing that you still have limits on what you know and what you can kind of do, and not being afraid to have, I don't know the answer, let's find out a way so that we can get you the answer. I think that's the most challenging thing, because everyone as an RA just wants to help, and sometimes you just don't know the answer, you don't know how to proceed, and recognizing that you yourself have limits on what you know and what you can do, and being able to use resources appropriately was probably the biggest challenge for me.
You mentioned balance. So what advice would you give someone for having a social life, working as an RA, and also working on some of your academics or other priorities?
I would say to stay on top of everything that you're a part of and to try to be as organized as possible. If you don't stay on track of everything, especially with the RA role having deadlines for programming, or especially for a lot of the administrative work that we have to do, that those things can slip. I would just say trying to be as organized as possible, staying positive, and leaning on the people around you for help when you feel like you're overwhelmed, because I know for a fact that I kept it all in and was very overwhelmed but didn't want to show it, and started to spread myself thin to the point that I kind of cracked. But always lean on your RDs, your GRDs, your staff members, everyone around you, people in res life. They're there to help you when things get hard. So that's my advice.
Yeah, 2/3 of the work that you will do as an RA is stuff you don't see. It's stuff that's not part of the final presentation. So realizing that you're going to have to put in a lot of work to get that program done, or recognizing that you need to start being a little bit more on top of your time management if you end up becoming an RA. This is a great skill to kind of harness in college, and it's a great opportunity for those of you who feel like you might not have those skills to kind of cultivate them and really hone in on them. I think one thing being an RA has definitely taught me is that it's like time management is definitely like key. The work isn't impossible by any means, but if you properly manage your time, you can absolutely do it all on campus.
That's awesome. So you mentioned skill set a little bit. There's a lot of things that have been happening on our campus lately in terms of, we had the march, we've had some different vandalism and other aspects. What role is it for you as an RA to have conversations with the residents or to bring up serious topics? How do you see yourself playing a part of the larger campus community that way?
I think it's really important to just understand that you're there for your residents, and you need to kind of meet your residents where they're at, in the sense that if they're not ready to have those really in-depth conversations, recognizing that you are probably the person that should probably be introducing those conversations on the floor, holding programs, holding hall talks, recognizing that you are the go-to person that they're probably going to come to if they're like, I don't really know how to talk about this with my roommate, but I kind of want to talk to you first. And recognizing that it's definitely not coming from a place of bad intent, but rather maybe they're trying to learn and understand, and recognizing that you are their go-to person. You're going to be the person that's probably going to be introducing these types of difficult conversations with people. Yeah.
I feel like that one, it's difficult, especially when you are also an individual who has your own opinions. And it's really hard to keep that separate from the work that you do with your residents. So really reflecting on how you feel, what you're feeling, and being able to put that aside to be there for your residents, because ultimately they come first in these situations. And like Tyler said, introducing these conversations are extremely important. We're at a time in our lives where these things are extremely prevalent, and everybody should be having these conversations. And being that person who's facilitating is extremely important. Ultimately, we're all here to learn, and by no means no one knows more than anyone else. Yeah, but as an RA, being that person who's opening that door for others is extremely important.
It is a challenge. Thank you. So if you look back at yourself before you were an RA and you're looking at yourselves now, how do you think you've grown the most, or how have you changed the most? I didn't put that one down.
Wow.
I think being able to work within tight confines, tight time restrictions, and being able to work with a wide breadth of people. Some staffs are 8 people and some staffs are 16 to 20, and that's a huge number of people to work with. So I think coming in, I underestimated a lot of the collaborative, aspects of this job, and realizing that there's a lot of collaboration with programming and, getting things in on time and helping each other out and picking up each other's duty, and recognizing that, you're all a team, and, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and when someone kind of messes up, it's a reflection of you as a whole, your staff as a whole. So recognizing that it's very much a team kind of aspect.
I would say I think that the role really helps people take on more responsibility that they may have been used to in the past. Something that my parents always told me was really focusing on not just being responsible for yourself, but for others. And I think that the role encompasses that really well, where you are now this pin person to, say, like 20 to maybe 40, 50 residents, and you're in some way responsible for them. You tend to be at a point in your life where you're well acquainted with the school, the resources, and you're a people person, you're all these things, but you're now responsible for others, and the way that you carry yourself, the way you're organized, your time management, all of those things are things that you learn through your time as an RA. You pick up a lot of skills, how to have really difficult conversations with certain people, just being someone that people can just lean on if they just need that person, being organized. A lot of leadership skill comes into it too. I've seen people grown into completely different people just by being RAs, and having that new sense of responsibility. So I think that that's one way we tend to all grow by the time we graduate. So, yeah.
So my last question, what advice would you give to the RA applicants coming through, or somebody who's starting as an RA?
That's a good one. I would say be yourself, which is like so cheesy, but like it's so true. Everyone has their different reasons for being an RA, but the main reason you will be one and remain one is for who you are and for being a person who cares for others and just wants to help others. So always keep that at the forefront. Nothing else quite matters in the grand scheme of things besides that. And yeah, to just be as authentic as possible, because that'll be your strongest suit.
I would say listen. If you take the conscious moment to forget what you need to say or what you want to say, and just listen to the experiences of others, and being open and willing to take that leap that like your point like really isn't relevant at the moment, but like you're trying to really understand what someone is trying to say and what they're feeling. It'll go so far and so long in not just being an RA, but be like in life. But that's really what at the heart of being an RA is. It's listening. Yes, we're a resource, but at the same time, we're trying to listen, we're trying to synthesize, and we're trying to help people kind of get where they need to go. So absolutely, just take a moment and listen.
Great. I want to thank you both for coming and talking. And then if you have any questions about the RA position, I would encourage you to talk with your own RA, with your grad, or look on our website for frequently asked questions. Have a good day.